Hi everyone, Clara is here again. Welcome to Difference Frames the World, a demonetized channel to see the world differently. Earlier today, one viewer asked us whether the platform had already monetized our channel as he saw advertisements on our videos. The answer is no. All three channels are still demonetized, meaning we are not entitled to receive a dime from the advertisement revenues. Advertisers think our videos have value for them to promote their products or services, for which we thank them very much, but no matter how many hours viewers spend watching those advertisements, Google will not reward us for our work. We currently rely on donations to survive, and it has been 9 months since Google demonetized all our channels. Nearly 1,000 supporters have extended their hands to us, and DFTW will continue despite all difficulties. Today we discuss the situation in the United Kingdom, after the death of Queen Elizabeth II on the afternoon of September 8, 2022, at London time in Scotland at the age of 96. After the Queen passed away, US President Joe Biden, who had praised highly of the Queen previous by saying she had reminded him of his mother, commemorated Queen Elizabeth and signed a condolence letter at the British Embassy in Washington. Joe Biden is turning 80 in November 2022, and is only 6 years older than King Charles III, the longest-waiting prince in human history. An ordinary person who is not interested in politics can hardly tell the difference between them. However, King Charles III inherits the throne from his mother, who can hold the position for as long as God allows him. Joe Biden can only keep his position for 2 more years, and even if he runs the 2024 presidential campaign, his old pal, Donald Trump, may give him a hard time. Despite their unpopularity in the US and the UK, respectively, Joe Biden and King Charles III boast the same excellence in English. Both can speak the language fluently, with or without reading a teleprompter. Not only did the United States show its condolence to the Queen, but Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also said, "Canada is with the Queen and the British Crown." Particularly for Canada, it lost a Queen but greeted a King, which was not too big a deal. Many Canadians are even glad to have another public holiday because of the Queen's death. Queen Elizabeth II is like a walking history of modern times. Her departure represents the end of the old era. After the Queen's death, the British royal family and political arena run smoothly. The new British Prime Minister, Liz Truss, was lucky enough to become the first Prime Minister to announce the name of the new King of England in the last 70 years. Some viewers say Liz Truss is a jinx, with which we disagree. The Queen was in her late 90s and had mobility issues, and she could pass away at any time, even if Liz Truss had not become the new Prime Minister. Unless King Charles III also had issues after meeting her, Liz Truss should not be blamed for bringing bad luck to the country. Although the UK claims to be a democracy with bunches of princes and princesses, dukes and duchesses, Liz Truss was not elected by the British. If democracy had prevailed in the country, another candidate of Indian descent should have been chosen, not her. Even though only 1/8 of the British people believe she can make a great leader, her problem is not the legality of her position, but a lot of headaches that put the UK in one of the worst situations in the past 300 years. Queen Elizabeth contributed a lot to the United Kingdom, and one of her efforts was to form the Commonwealth system. After the Queen's accession in 1952, the British Empire was in turmoil, as many colonies like India declared independence. Especially during the Suez Canal crisis in 1956, Britain's global influence vanished. Britain was then forced to transform into a Commonwealth of Nations system, in which the Queen's charm and diplomatic vigor played a considerable role. After her death, the current Commonwealth system will survive for various considerations. Still, member nations will not recognize King Charles III's legitimacy to the same extent as they respected his mother. In contrast to the problem of the collapse of the Commonwealth system, which may not be as severe, the United Kingdom itself has been in big trouble, particularly the British Crown and government have faced various problems following the death of Elizabeth II. Scotland independence tops the list. As the birthplace of the Queen, Scotland will be less attached to the UK after her death. Before the first referendum on Scottish independence in 2014, the Queen made an unprecedented move to express her views on domestic issues. When she went to Scotland on vacation, she merely advised some Scots to think about it on a private occasion. As a result, the referendum on Scottish independence was unsuccessful, with 55% against. The second referendum is coming in October 2023, and the ruling Scottish National Party has been speculating on the issue of Scottish independence, gradually strengthening the nationalist concept of the Scottish nation. Whether the British government allows it or not, it will set a precedent for other separatists in other areas like Northern Ireland. Since the first referendum in 2014, there have been 8 years of subtle influence, leading to an inevitable growth of independence forces in the Scottish region. Although the Scottish opposition parties are desperately attacking the National Party for using the independence issue as a cover for poor governance, the Scottish people still believe it. We will see how Liz Truss deals with this issue, and we doubt she will value Scotland's freedom and democracy as she supports Taiwan's independence. We wonder if she would use Britain's few atomic bombs to suppress the Scottish people's appeal for independence instead of threatening other nuclear powers like Russia and China. The conflict between Scotland and London worsened after Brexit because bailouts and funding from the EU played a massive role in ensuring the standard of living and industrial development of Scots after the decline of heavy industry in the UK, and the Scots did not want to give up the help from the European Union. Moreover, as an export-oriented economy, Scotland's exports to the EU have benefited mainly from the EU's customs and tariff arrangements, and the Scots do not want to give up this advantage. A whopping 62% of Scots agreed to stay in the EU system during the first round of the Scottish independence referendum in 2014, which is self-explanatory. The United Kingdom has left the European Union for the United States, and the Queen has left the United Kingdom for heaven, so there is not enough binding power to hold Scotland and London together. On the Scottish issue, Liz Truss deliberately shows her tough attitude to suppress Scots' referendum on independence, but what can she do? The United Kingdom, like the US and Canada, is a democracy. And in a democratic country, with a king like the mascot of the Olympic Games, Scots should be at least 100 times happier than the Uyghurs in China. By the way, Great Britain is too small to build a concentration camp accommodating 1 million Scots. 2022 is a bad year for the United Kingdom, and 2023 might be worse. At last, we have to say Liz Truss will alienate the United Kingdom from Europe because of her poor relations with other European leaders, like Macron, about whom she did not know much, not sure whether he is a friend or an enemy. European leaders do not want to anger Joe Biden, but they do not have to show courtesy to Liz Truss, a showwoman of Little Britain, as one of our viewers said. The United Kingdom is not a boat, it cannot leave Europe for America. So, no matter how wholeheartedly the British government wants to become the 52nd or 53rd state of the US, it is still a European country, a small island nation attached to the European continent. Britain is like yesterday's Spain, and today's Spain will be the United Kingdom's destiny. What is Britain's future? It has no future if it constantly chooses show people like Boris Johnson and Liz Truss instead of real leaders like Winston Churchill or Margaret Thatcher.